Steve Cohen bought the Mets 3 years ago after being a lifelong fan and bought it with the intent of changing the Mets from losers to winners. They only made the postseason 4 times in the 2000s before Cohen took over. He came in aggressive and gave a clear message to not just Mets fans but fans across baseball that the Mets were going to be the team that superstars went to.
I'm all in. Let's go Mets.
I think it's pretty safe to say he wasn't lying, and Queens, New York turned into the destination across baseball. In his very first year as the owner, he went out and made a very big move and statement by bringing in Francisco Lindor from the Cleveland Guardians. He was the Guardians' heart and soul, he was their superstar, but the Mets now landed him. They ended up going 77-85, and Steve took it personally and went on a free agent rampage. He signed one of the best free agents of the entire decade with Max Scherzer on a 3-year, $130 million deal. But he didn't feel that the rotation was quite good enough, so he also traded for Chris Bassett from the A's. The rotation was now complete, but the lineup was far from complete. They spent $124 million trying to correct the lineup. The big guy was Starling Marte. He may have had no pop in the bat, but he was a top contact merchant in baseball, and that's exactly what they were looking for. Plus, he also gave elite defense to go along with that in the outfield. The team was only getting better and better by the day. Plus, they managed to revamp the bullpen through trade and free agency in this offseason. The Mets were thriving in that offseason, and it all mixed together into a great season. I mean, they went 101-61 in 2022. The Mets being a 100-win team was not the only thing that Cohen wanted. He wanted them to be playing successful baseball in the playoffs. You know, just like what everyone wants. You want your favorite team to win playoff games. But the Mets, they were eliminated in the very first round of the wild card playoffs. Just like that, it was all over. Steve might have became drunk or something like that because he went on another spending spree. You knew that stuff was getting real. He spent $423 million just retooling the team. They already won 100 games, and adding talent was supposed to be doing wonders. They signed Brandon Nimmo for 8 years to join the outfield, and he was pretty good in his first year. But that was the only big move that they actually made for the lineup, and the rest was all pitching, and it was all big signings. Justin Verlander actually landed himself a 2-year, $86 mega million deal. He may have been old, but he was still pitching at a very high level. One of the other biggest moves that they made for the rotation was also Kodai Senga, and Senga was coming out of Japan as a 29-year-old. You guys know how those Japan players are. They come into MLB and they absolutely dominate most of the time, and that is exactly what Senga did in his first year. The last guy they added was Jose Quintana. Quintana was really good for the Pirates and the Cardinals in 2022, so they thought that he was going to be a good addition as well. So let's see, they added Verlander, Senga, and Quintana for the rotation. The lineup, they brought in Nimmo. Plus, they spent big money on the bullpen. So how in the world were they going to fail? Well, they did, so that's that, and they sucked. It's just that simple. They sucked. They weren't winning baseball games, and it did not feel like a team. It just felt like a bunch of baseball players playing baseball. At the trade deadline, Steve Cohen gave up and he shipped off a lot of the older players. This is when the brand new Mets started, and this is how things started to change. Cohen saw the Mets failing, and he did the right thing, and he knew that the right thing to do was to tear it all down. Buying a baseball team rarely works, but building a team works in football, baseball, any sport. That's how you do it. You draft, you develop prospects, and you spend money along the way, but you don't buy the entire team. Because at that rate, how is it even a team? It's just a bunch of players. They traded Max Scherzer and Verlander at the trade deadline away. Scherzer was shipped to the Rangers, and Verlander went back to the Astros. Those two trades were an indication of the future for the Mets. They learned their lesson, and they now know why buying does not work. This is something that every MLB team should take into account and will. Even though the Mets finished with a record of 75-87, this team has a very bright future, and I'm so excited for it, man. They have a top 5 farm system in baseball, hands down, no doubt about it. At the major league level, they have core players to build around, and that's also big. Senga in his very first year had a 2.98 ERA, so he's already a top pitcher in baseball, and he's only going to be getting better. They have so much to look forward to. Plus, the lineup has players to look forward to. You got Lindor, you got Pete Alonso, and even more. I don't think it makes sense for the Mets to spend a lot of money this offseason, and I think it's fair to say that they also won't. But there is one intriguing option that I absolutely do see the Mets spending money on, and that is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I made a video about a month ago predicting that he would wind up in New York. It makes so much sense. I mean, the guy's 25, so even though the prospects won't be ready next year, they will be for the future, and Yamamoto is a player who can make a serious impact in the future. Just imagine him and Senga dominating the league whenever this team is trying to be competitive. That would be one of the best and one of the biggest 1-2 punches that we've seen. But let's say that they don't sign him, and they are forced to go with someone else for their future. In this sort of a situation, I think that they wait it out, and the future of the Mets will be Roki Sasaki. We aren't super sure when he's actually going to be coming to MLB, but when he does, the Mets will do everything that they can to get him. A few years down the line when they're finally ready and just lack a #1 pitcher, Cohen will pick up that phone and he will do everything that he can to go and get Roki. Roki's a super young player, and that's the biggest thing with him. He's really, really good. They already have players to build around, but they definitely could use more for their future. They have prospects who are currently rising up the farm system and are willing to spend on young talent. Teams that can develop players and spend at the same time are usually among the better groups. Baseball will change after seeing what the New York Mets have done, but let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already, and peace out.